18th February, 9:45 a.m., the Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Oh, thank goodness, we are in time. There's still 15 minutes until the trial begins. I never knew a horse-drawn carriage could go so fast. I thought my teeth were going to rattle loose. Did you hear what I said to the driver when we climbed aboard? Get us to our destination in 5 minutes, driver, and there's a guinea in it for you. A guinea? Guinea. Spaghetti Fresser, what? Spaghetti, Guinea? Ach so, das ist eine Währung, das sind Shillings. Okay, das ist, okay, Guinea ist eine Währung. It's one of my favorite lines from the Herlock Sholmes stories, and it worked quite perfectly. I'm not sure why you're so pleased. I thought we were going to die, and we had to pay gold for the privilege. Well, at least we arrived here before the trial started. Yes, I suppose there's that. Anyway, I don't understand it. The court clerk said the defendant should be here, but there's no sign of him at all. So this is the Old Bailey. Even this room for defendants to wait in its grand. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? I'm feeling tense, that's all. This place gives me the same sense of foreboding that I remember from the Supreme Court in Japan. Japan. Foreboding nochmal. Foreboding. Unheil verkündend, okay. An oppressive air, almost as if the building itself is going to crush whoever is about to be sentenced. It feels like only yesterday that I was the one about to be crushed. Yes, whoever the man you're to defend is, I imagine he's feeling very alone at this moment. Top of the morning to you, madam. Sir, es ist der Jacksepticeye. Top of the morning to ya. What are you doing? Following me here? Things are fair desperate, are they? Sorry? Would you look at those expressionless faces? From the east, are you? We are from Japan, yes? Ah, Japan, is it? Right, say no more. So, how much do you need? No, we are just here because... No need to explain, fella. I've been there myself, so I have. No place to go, nothing to eat, barely a penny to your name, and all while in a strange, faraway land. Well, actually... we haven't found a place to stay yet, no. 'Tis grand. Let me start by giving you 1,000 guineas. Say nothing now. 1,000 guineas? Please, Mrs. Sato, you don't have to shout. But 1,000 guineas is enough to build an entire mansion in the most prestigious area of Tokyo. What? Okay, nehmen wir, ne? 'Tis nothing to me at all. I like to ensure I have sufficient funds to weather a rainy day, you see? I've enough wealth to buy the city of London 2 or 3 times over. Could that much rain even fall in one day? Well, even so, we couldn't possibly accept such a large sum of money. Ah! That hit me in the eye. Oh man. Don't get me wrong, fella. I'm not giving it ya no strings attached. I'll be wanting you to do something for me. Oh. To be honest, it's a little embarrassing. The trial that's about to begin, you see, is for me, good self here. I'll be in the dock. Okay, das ist also unser Klient, unser Mandant. So now, what I want you to do is come along with me and stand there beside me. Officially, you'd be my lawyer, but that's just a little detail now. Oh, well, the thing is, don't worry about a thing. All you have to do is stand up they are next to me, nothing more. Otherwise, you see, the trial is going to start without me having any kind of representation at all. So it was true. The Lord Chief Justice wasn't just making it all up. I'm terribly sorry to have to ask, but does that mean you're the defendant in this trial? Blaster and blazes! Do you not know who I am? Me, one of London's biggest names. No, sorry, we've only just arrived in the city, you see. I see. I suppose it isn't altogether impossible. Well, just next to Hyde Park there in the center of London is another beautiful park. Sorry? A park? What? Tis called McGilded Park, full of blossoming flowers in the spring and singing birds and whatnot. Wissen wir nicht, was ein Park ist oder was? I donated it to the city, so I did. An entire park? In central London? Okay, wir wissen doch, was ein Park ist. A city of smiles, that's my vision for London. There's nothing Magnus McGilded wouldn't do for the city and its queer old people. That's amazing. I mean, really extraordinary. Ah, but now there's the gag to say I'm a good-for-nothing criminal. Me, Magnus McGilded. What is the matter with the London police, I ask ya? Alright, don't pass out. Mr. Naruhodo. Perhaps now would be a good time to introduce ourselves. Ourselves? What? While the gentleman catches his breath. Good idea. Mr. Gilded, the thing is, we are actually here in London to study British law. We are law students on a study tour from Japan, you see. So, if you don't have a lawyer for the trial yet, and you'd be happy to put yourself in our hands, we'll do our best. What was I after saying, you daft Egypt? You daft Egypt? I've given you 1,000 guineas to start up there next to me, haven't I? Well, yes, but I wasn't really offering to just stand up there next to you. Oh, I think I see what's going on here. Sorry? I know what you're thinking. This chancer of a fella claims to have more money than the Queen. But if that's true, why the blazes can't he hire the finest lawyer in all of England? Because he did it. That's the only explanation. Well? What? Not at all. Not at all. Although, it is a little strange to be honest. Why you don't have a lawyer, I mean. That would be the fault of the Reaper. The Reaper, der Sensenmann. Sorry? Did he just say Reaper? Aye, the Grim Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Baroque van Zieks. He's the prosecutor. The prosecutor is the Grim Reaper? When Van Zieks stands for the prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And to this day, in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. What? So it's reached a desperate situation, where there's no one willing to stand in defense against the fella at all. Also haben wir hier eine Classic Myers Edgeworth Teil 1 / Manfred von Cava Situation, die ja auch ungeschlagen waren und alle immer schuldig gesprochen haben. Interessant. It's okay, you could say he's a living legend of the Old Bailey. Goodness, Lord Baroque van Zieks. He must be an exceptionally talented prosecutor then. Talented isn't the word you're looking for, madam. It's cursed. Cursed? What on earth? The defendant is summoned, and his counsel. Please make your way into the courtroom. The trial is about to begin. His counsel, that would be me. Oh, 'tis time. Well then, fella, don't let me down. But I don't know anything about the case. You haven't told me what happened. Until you showed your face here. I'd made up my mind, so I had. Sorry? I decided I'd have to defend myself in there. How would that have worked? But then you made an appearance, a student of law, wouldn't ya know? 'Tis no accident, I can assure you of that. 'Tis fate. So don't get cold feet now, please. Es wird ja immer besser. I literally know nothing about the case or about this man who stands accused. In fact, the only thing I do know is that I can't just turn my back on him. Mr. Naruhodo, the man has no one. He'll have to stand alone in that courtroom, armed with nothing to defend himself. Yes, something that Kazuma would never have allowed to happen. Counsel for the defense, what are you doing? If you're late for the start of the trial, you will lose your right to stand. I'll be right there. Oha. It's happening then. My first trial in the British court. I hope you're watching over me, Kazuma. Because I have no idea how I'm going to manage this. February, 10 AM. The Old Bailey court room. Oh. So this is the highest court in Great Britain. The Old Bailey. The centuries of history in this place is palpable, isn't it? It's so different to the Supreme Court in Japan. It feels both imposing and serene at the same time. The atmosphere almost makes words redundant. Whatever the country, determining a person's guilt or innocence is always a solemn affair. May I say something, Mr. Naruhodo? Was war solemn nochmal? Solemn. Feierlich, ernst. Okay, ich denke eher ernst. Eidesstaatlich. Oh, yes, what? Oh no. Your eyes look ready to pop out of your head again. I know, but I just can't help it. Oha. Der Weihnachtsmann. In the name of Her Majesty of the Queen, of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here today to determine the guilt or innocence of Mr. Magnus McGilded. I now call upon the counsel for the prosecution and defense to declare their willingness to proceed. The prosecution is fully prepared. That must be the Reaper of the Bailey. He really does look fully prepared to dispatch his next poor victim to the underworld. He's a vampire. Counsel for the defense, you appear to be Eastern. Do you speak English? Huh? Oh, yes, of course, sorry. But he asked if the defense was ready. And I couldn't be further from ready if I tried. Those eyes please me, Nipponese. They shroud your fear, your doubt, your trepidation. Das ist Trepidation schon wieder. Sprecht doch mal Deutsch hier. Trepidation. Beklemmung. Okay, Angst. They run wild, clinging to some phantom notion of courage. The quintessential look of a sacrificial lamb. A cold shiver just ran down my spine all the way to the tips of my toes. Now, Mr. McGilded. Yes, my lord? You stand accused of murder, a capital offense. You could be sent to the gallows if found guilty. Are you quite sure you wish to entrust your defense to this foreigner? As I've always said, my lord, 'tis a grand thing to give opportunities to the young. Even if the fella is a student from some little island off in the Far East. Is it not the British way to ignore the dangers to yourself and give those less fortunate a fair chance? I'd like to think that acts of chivalry do the great British Empire proud. Listen to Mr. McGilded, what a fine gentleman London has in him. Did you hear that he donated £5,000 to the government the other day? Mother, please may we go and play in Mr. McGilded Park? It seems as though everyone in the public gallery is firmly behind Mr. McGilded. That's definitely welcome news, and he certainly has a way with words. I'm surprised he couldn't convince anyone to defend him. Eloquently put, Mr. McGilded, and most laudable sentiments. Now, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I'm sure I need hardly remind you that you 6 members of the public have been selected for your impartiality. Are you ready to proceed? Yes, my lord. If the task is to send Rotter to the gallows where they belong, I'm more than ready. Okay, also wir haben hier Juristen quasi. At the manor, his lordship always says we should dispose of rubbish promptly. Naturally, I agree. Ha! Any criminals here will soon be wishing they never set eyes on me. Okay. I feel a chill. Oh, don't mind me, my dears. I'll just be getting on with my knitting. Must finish these mitts for my grandson. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, those people are... the jury, yes. That's something we don't have in Japan yet. That's right, I've only ever read about it. But here in Great Britain, the court's final verdict depends on the opinions of these 6 jurors. The judge passes sentences according to the law, but the jurors determine guilt based on common sense. So the defendant is ultimately judged from 2 completely different points of view. But how exactly do the jurors give the verdict? Ich muss mal gucken, wie das ausgesprochen wird. Jurors, ob ich das richtig ausspreche. Ich habe Juristen gesagt, ich meine Geschworene natürlich. Oder Juroren.
Jurors.
Jurors, okay. How exactly do jurors give the verdict? That I don't know, but I'm sure it will become clear as the trial progresses. Yes. Prosecutor Van Zieks. My lord? It's been a number of years since we've seen you here in the courtroom. I thought you'd renounce your fame. I'm known as the Reaper of the Bailies, my lord. Infamy rather than fame, I would say. Infamy... Oh Mann, es liegt mir auf der Zunge. Schande. Ah, okay. But yes, 5 years have passed since I last spread my wings in this capacity. Okay. So, what brings you back? Is there some change of circumstances of which the court should be aware of? I leave that to your imagination, my lord. So the Reaper has been out of action for 5 years. Why did he have to choose today of all days to make a comeback? Don't lose heart, Mr. Naruhodo. As you wish, sir, the court nevertheless welcomes your return. Now then, opening statements, I think. The summary of the case, if you please. Certainly, my lord. As your lordship is aware, this is a case of overwhelming simplicity. Oh Gott, jetzt kriegen wir heraus, was überhaupt passiert ist. So, wir wissen ja bisher noch gar nichts. We must be the only ones in here who aren't aware. The incident took place in the late evening. 3 days passed. The hour was some minutes after 10. Warte mal. Okay, er hat es nicht gesagt. Er sagte nur, ich lasse das ihrer Imagination. Überlasse es ihrer Imagination, warum er zurückgekehrt ist. Werden wir vielleicht noch erfahren, denke ich mal. The incident took place in the late evening, 3 days passed. The hour was some minutes after 10. The victim was a maker of building bricks known in the community as Thrice-Fired Mason. Zoe? Thrice? He was a very accomplished craftsman. The bricks he fired were said to be almost indestructible. Okay, ein Ziegelsteinhersteller. The victim's corpse was discovered in an omnibus in service on the streets of London at the time. A dagger that had been thrust into the victim's abdomen is believed to be the ultimate cause of death. Here's the autopsy report from the investigating medical officer at Scotland Yard. Thank you, Counsel. I shall accept that and the photograph as evidence. The autopsy report has been entered into the court record. The photograph of the crime scene has been entered into the court record. The photograph of the victim taken on the omnibus. Ich habe es gerade nicht vorgelesen von dem Postmortem Report, aber das machen wir gleich noch. A photograph of the victim taken on the omnibus. The knife in his abdomen is clearly visible, but his face is partly obscured from view by an old crooked head. Was war das andere? A report prepared by Scotland Yard Corona. Lol. Corona. Gerichtsmediziner, okay. It gives the cause of death as internal hemorrhaging as a result of a single stab wound to the abdomen. Moment mal ganz kurz. So, ich muss kurz die Nase putzen. Victim name Thrice-Fired Mason, male. Age 54, occupation brickmaker. Time and cause of death 15th February, 10 PM to 11 PM. Stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife whilst journeying in an omnibus. Died due to internal hemorrhaging resulting from the trauma. Und crime scene photograph. Okay. Interesting. Was mir gleich auffällt, hier fehlt ein Knopf. Mal gucken, ob das noch relevant wird. And one further item of evidence. The prosecution wishes to submit these as well. And these are... Good lord! Is it blood, Counsel? Yes, my lord. Seized by a policeman who arrived at the scene. These gore-soaked gloves were taken from the hands of the accused when he was arrested. What? Mr. McGilded gloves had blood on them? Das ist natürlich nicht gut. Yes, I will accept these as evidence as well. The defendant's leather gloves have been entered into the court record. The leather gloves the defendant was wearing at the time of the incident. There's a blood stain on the white glove. How did I get into this? I'm backed into a corner before I've even started. Bleiben wir erstmal ganz ruhig und gucken uns die Handschuhe an. This is definitely blood, isn't it? Not the most pleasant sight to be confronted with in our first day in London. Well, nothing will come of grumbling now. No. By the way, is Mr. McGilded white-handed? Yes, I believe so. He was toying with a coin in his right hand a little earlier. Pity. If only he'd been left-handed. I think blood on either glove would be fairly incriminating, really. True. Ich glaube, das macht nicht so viel Unterschied. In dem Fall. Was für welche Hand man benutzt, was die Mainhand ist. I backed into a corner before I've even started. Continuing. According to the driver of the omnibus, there were only 2 passengers traveling inside his vehicle at the time. Only 2. Obviously, one of those passengers was the deceased wigmaker, Mr. Mace. The other was the accused, Magnus McGilded. Well, rather damning circumstances to say the least. Defendant, what say you? Well, of course, I have no recollection of such a thing. Mr. McGilded. To be sure, I rode the omnibus that evening. But whenever I'm in a carriage, I'm taken with a fierce tiredness and I always succumb to it. Are you claiming to have been asleep? 'Tis the motion of the carriage, my lord. Lilting, so it is. And when I opened my eyes again, 'twas a desperate sight before me. The body of a man I'd never laid eyes on before in my life. Now I ask you, what good-hearted soul wouldn't rush to help a fella bleeding from his stomach? I wasn't about to start worrying about me gloves now, was I? I reached out to give the man a hand. So the blood got onto the glove then, after the man had been killed. Unfortunately, that statement of the drivers is only the beginning. What? That's not all of it? Okay. There were multiple witnesses to the precise moment at which the wigmaker was fatally stabbed. Oha. Order! 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 Myself. When the killing took place, only the victim and the accused were inside the carriage. And there were witnesses to the crime. This is not just a case of compelling evidence. It's a nail in the coffin for the accused. Thank you, counsel. The circumstances of the crime have been made quite clear. I think we'll hear testimony from these witnesses first of all. Your wish is my command. Bailiff, bring the witnesses in at once. Oha, 3 Stück. Witnesses, your names and occupations. My name is, well, everyone calls me Beppo. I drive an omnibus in the East End. Du frierst ein bisschen, Beppo. Bruce Fairplay, I'm a banker in the city. My name's First. Lady First. Lady First, okay. I make hats for gents. Let's begin by confirming the facts. 3 days ago, at a short time after 10 o'clock in the evening, all of you present in the stand were in an omnibus and witness to the aforementioned incident. Is that correct? Also die waren im Omnibus? Achso, im anderen wahrscheinlich, in einem anderen. Yes, sir. Quite right. Yes, sir. That's right, sir. Very well then. Let's proceed to your formal testimonies, please. Each of you will tell the court precisely what you saw. Okay. Einen Moment mal kurz. Okay. What the witnesses saw. It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. That's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, I did. Couldn't help it. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus. And then I saw it too.